Assuming the candidate meets the eligibility criteria and 50% of the level 3 criteria in their initial assessment, they can then begin their supervised practice period. And this is the core component of the experience-based route. All candidates must complete this period, even if they met 100% of the criteria in their initial assessment. During the supervised practice period, the candidate will continue to work at their setting, carrying out tasks and duties that let them develop and demonstrate the skills and knowledge that were missing from their initial assessment. Some of these might be their regular duties, but then they might also be given additional responsibilities to stretch and challenge them. So tasks can include educating and caring for young children, acting as a key person, supporting the assessment of children's progress, and carrying out administrative tasks. The supervised practice period should last between 751 to 900 hours. This is the minimum length of time the experience-based route should take. If a candidate who works full-time does the minimum length required, that would be around 6 months before they could progress to completing their experience-based route. The provider has discretion within this time frame. Some candidates might not need the full 900 hours, others might need more, in which case the provider can choose to extend the period until the candidate is ready. The types of tasks I've already mentioned can all contribute towards these hours, but CPD activities can too. So any courses, L&D the candidate carries out, or shadowing senior colleagues, these can all be logged and contribute towards the final assessment. A couple of points to emphasize. Firstly, the candidate does not need to be directly observed throughout this period. There will be a nominated supervisor who will provide support and monitor progress against the level 3 criteria across that period, but they don't need to be with the candidate at all times. But they should have regular check-ins with the candidate, provide any mentoring or coaching needed, and document the candidate's progress. Secondly, the candidate should not be included in the ratios at level 3 during their supervised practice period. Only after they've successfully completed their experience-based route can they work in the level 3 ratios. Once the candidate has completed the required hours and the provider believes they're ready, they can agree to finish the supervised practice period and move to the final assessment. This is a similar process to the initial assessment, and the same assessment template can be used. As with the initial assessment, this should also be carried out by the nominated assessor, who is responsible for assessing all of the evidence documented throughout the supervised practice period against the level 3 criteria. The final assessment takes into account all of the skills and knowledge demonstrated by the candidate during both their initial assessment and the recorded hours in their supervised practice period. If the candidate is assessed to have met 100% of the level 3 criteria, they have successfully completed their experience-based route and they gain experience-based route status. It's for the provider to decide how the assessment and its outcome are documented, but there should be some record that acts as evidence that the candidate has gained EBR status. They may wish to use the assessment template provided by the DFE and keep a copy of that in their records. If the candidate does not meet 100% of the criteria, then they do not gain EBR status. An unsuccessful outcome should also be recorded. The candidate should discuss next steps with their employer. This might be a continuation of the supervised practice period, or they might consider other routes to progression, for example, the early years educator apprenticeship or a full and relevant level 3 qualification. Assuming the candidate has been successful and now holds EBR status, they are eligible to be included in the staff-child ratios at level 3 for that provider, and they can carry out all of the duties that might be carried out by an educator that holds a full and relevant level 3 qualification. This is also assuming they meet all other requirements. As mentioned earlier, the educator must also hold a level 2 English qualification and a valid paediatric first aid certificate as per EYFS requirements. As mentioned, EBR status holders will only be able to work in the level 3 ratios once the relevant changes to the EYFS have been made, which is expected in September. Also, an educator holding EBR status cannot fill the role of manager. The EYFS requirement still applies that a manager must hold a full and relevant level 3 qualification. I've noted a couple of other requirements in this slide that providers should consider when deploying EBR staff. DFE is committed to developing the qualified workforce, and we want as many educators as possible to gain full and relevant qualifications. So there is absolutely still that need for fully qualified staff. So we've limited the use of EBR, so no more than 50% of staff working in the level 3 ratios in a setting can do so on the basis of EBR at one time. The remaining staff working at that level must hold a full and relevant qualification. And as a reminder, the staff-child ratios apply across the whole setting rather than per each individual room. And then we've also said that EBR status is not automatically transferable between providers. I've mentioned that it's for the provider to decide if they want to make use of EBR. So an incoming member of staff who holds EBR status can't assume that their new employer will want to make use of it. It's for that new provider to decide if they want to recognise that educator's EBR status and include them in the level 3 ratios. If they do want to include that educator at level 3, they don't have to do a new supervised practice period, but they must carry out a new assessment to gain assurance for themselves that the educator is meeting all of the level 3 criteria, so demonstrating all of those skills and knowledge. They may decide that their new member of staff should work for 1 or 2 months at their setting before carrying out their assessment. We do recognise that providers with more than one setting often move their staff around. So when an educator is moving from one setting to another under the same provider, that EBR status does go with them and can be used in all settings within that provider.